Bush concerts in the room? Nobody?
Wow.
Okay. Guys, I'm really happy to be here today, so thank you so much for coming out. I heard from Culver City, from Pasadena, from all over this area, just people who've come to hear more about Twitter's story, and I couldn't be happier to tell it. Twitter makes me really happy, and I'll tell you about myself and where I come from in a minute, but I've been with the company for about 5 years now, and it's never been a more exciting time to be a part of this platform. So what I'm going to take you through today is a little bit on the story of Twitter. How was it born? Where have we gone, and how did we get to a place where we have world leaders and politicians and physicists and mathematicians and everyone all over the world using this as really the pulse of the planet and the pulse of conversation to bring people together and to make the world an even smaller place. So first, a little bit about me. So I'm Alexa. I come from the East Coast. I was born in New York, and I've lived there my entire life. I started working at Twitter about 5 years ago now, so I might look like I just got my driver's license, but I've had a little bit of a career here. When I first started, Twitter was this platform where, it was obviously very powerful, but we had no idea what the trajectory was, where we were going, and how we were going to get there. So I'm happy to say that we're at a place where we're growing and we're moving and shaking, and it makes me really excited to be a part of that. So like I said, sorry about that. So like I said, I started in New York. I worked at Twitter for about 3 years. I then was moved to Latin America, to Miami and Mexico City, where I started 2 of our global offices down there. And this was around 2013 when Twitter was really growing, and growing as a global company, not just as a US-centric company based in San Francisco. So I then went from Miami and Mexico City back to New York, and then decided to fly all the way across the country to Twitter LA. So I'm happy to be here now. I think, the West Coast really is the best coast. So I hope you all agree with me. But enough about my journey. I want to tell you about just where Twitter has gone from A to B. But John actually stole my idea, but I'd love to ask you guys. So I know how you use the platform, but I'd love for you to tell me in 140 characters or less, what is Twitter? And I have some prizes, so please speak up. Who wants to tell me? What is Twitter?
Does anybody have an idea? Yeah.
A social media platform.
Social media platform. There you go.
In a word, relevance.
Relevance, I like it.
No prize?
I tweet, I don't play sports.
A microblogging site.
A microblogging site. Okay, cool.
Got 2 more over here.
A communications platform.
Communications. Do you wear t-shirts? That's fastest long time, shall we?
140 characters and why the country's going to hell this morning.
So did you check Twitter this morning when you woke up, just like I did?
No.
You didn't? Okay, did anyone? Raise your hand if you checked Twitter this morning.
I did.
Raise your hand if you have a Twitter account. If you're active, if you check it regularly. Okay, cool. Raise your hand if you use Twitter for business. Okay, cool. And lastly, raise your hand if you tweet. Okay, I love it. So lots of diversity in the room of how people use the platform. And I love your segue. So what's your name? Earl. Okay, awesome. So Earl actually spoke to what I'll allow one of my favorite public figures to speak to, which is who uses Twitter? And the answer is everyone. So let's hear from Stephen Colbert.
How was your weekend?
My weekend, it was fun. It was weird though, because the president started tweeting at like 6:50 something a.m.
6:35.
Right. I was actually I'd flown to Phoenix where I was doing an investigation for 60 Minutes all weekend. So I've actually muted the president on Twitter. Don't tell him.
What?
I've muted him.
You can do that?
Yeah. When you get annoying people tweeting you, you don't want to delete because then that tells them you've deleted them.
Oh.
So if you just mute them, they think you're still following them, and you don't actually see their tweets.
Okay, so in all seriousness, Twitter, to my knowledge, is the only platform that is live, public, and conversational, where a world leader can address a nation or a multitude of nations across the world in an instant and doesn't need to go through the communication channels of the normal media and go through vetting and go through communications. He literally will tweet. And sometimes you'll see him tweet and then delete his tweets really quickly because he realizes that he just tweeted one word, or he realizes that he tweeted something completely ridiculous and will actually go back and tweet again. But in all seriousness, this truly speaks to the power of this platform as an instantaneous source of communication. So raise your hand if you follow Donald Trump on Twitter. Okay. Really? Wow, no one. I actually have him on notifications just to know what's going on in the world. But this is the power of Twitter. And so Donald Trump aside, Twitter is a place where anyone can come forward and where anyone can communicate. And as we've seen in the world, there are a multitude of different ways to do that. But Twitter wasn't always this powerful platform. It wasn't always this place, where people can come and communicate in an instant. It wasn't always this place where the entire world was. So I'm going to tell you the story of how it went from a simple experiment with a few guys sitting in a room all the way to a place where the world is happening and where you can see anything that's happening directly on the platform. So it started with a tweet. So I don't know if you're familiar with Jack Dorsey. He is one of the founders of Twitter. So Jack and a couple of other guys, Ev and Biz, got together back in 2006, and they took the concept of text messages, and they said, why don't we create a network where we can text message multiple people at once, and where we can micro message to spread news, and to tell each other where we are and what we're doing on a Saturday night. And that was where the tweet was born. Now, where the tweet started to spread was at South by Southwest, which is, for those of you who may not know, an industry conference that's in Austin, Texas. And this is what Twitter looked like in 2007 at South by Southwest. And this is Jack and Ed, the founders of our company, and they're actually showing people how to use Twitter to tell each other where they are. There's thousands of people at South by Southwest and hundreds of different activities and happenings and things to do. So Twitter was a means for informing people what's happening and where to go and why and when. So it brought people together, and it quickly went from a micro messaging service of about 10,000 tweets per day to over 100,000 tweets per day after South by Southwest. So someone, this guy Chris, I have no idea who he is, but Chris Messina, he said, why don't we take this concept of virality and of communication and build a hashtag? So if we aggregate that conversation around different topics that we know people are tweeting about at a similar rate, like South by Southwest, or like the news, or like what's going on a Saturday night, and we put a pound sign in front of it and unify that word and make it clickable, it becomes a digital campfire where we can all gather and where we can all communicate and see what's happening around that specific topic. So this is when the hashtag was born in August of 2007. So I'm going to come back to that in a minute. So we went from the hashtag all the way to the Oscars. Who remembers the Ellen selfie? Awesome. So this speaks to the growth that we saw over the years from 2007 at South by Southwest all the way to 2014, where Twitter became a powerful pulse for what's happening in the world. And the hashtag transformed all the way to the Oscars, where Ellen decided to unify all of the people that she cared about most and bring them together in a photo to put people front and center to this event that they cared about and take them behind the scenes. And this could only be done on a platform like Twitter, which again is live. It's a public platform where anyone can come on and see what's happening. And it's conversational. So as you can see down here, over 3 million retweets. So as some of you may know, Ellen actually prides herself on this being the top retweeted tweet of all time, up until a few months ago.
I'm glad you're here today. I need your help. Okay, time is of the essence. Look at this. Hubble just spotted something massive coming. No, that's not the one. No, that's the wrong headline y'all pulled up. I'm talking about something much more important. This headline right here. Sorry, Ellen DeGeneres, this chicken nuggets tweet could become the most retweeted ever. Did you hear that? There's a high school kid named Carter Wilkerson. He tweeted Wendy's asking how many retweets he'd need to get a year's supply of chicken nuggets, and Wendy's replied 18 million. This kid has accepted the challenge. He's already at 2.6 million. No, stop it. My Oscar selfie it's holding the record right now at 3.3 million. And no chickens were harmed in the process of mine. So mine holds the record for 3.3. He's at 2.6. This kid is on my heels. Carter, stop it right now. You mess with the bull, you get the horns. I'm angry because I worked so hard to set that record. First I got my own sitcom, and then I came out, and then I lost everything. This is part of the whole plan. Then I came back with my talk show and became so popular they asked me to host the Oscars, but I waited until they asked me to host the second time to finally make my move. And then I gathered all the biggest stars into one selfie, and I challenged the world to share it, and boom, I achieved my goal of the most retweeted tweet of all time. And this guy asked for nuggets. Carter, I like your style, and I want to encourage a kid to dream big, because I think that's important. So here's what I'm going to do. I challenge everyone who retweets Carter's tweet to also retweet my Oscar selfie.
So you can go on and retweet Ellen's selfie, or we can take our very own selfie, and you can go
That
at
way, I would
Alexa
change my
and
title,
retweet it.
and
I think we can beat Ellen.
And
Ready?
here's what I'll
Say
do.
cheese. Cheese.
It's on CCL Roku TV.
Fun. Okay, great. So I just tweeted it, so feel free to retweet our selfie and follow me. Okay, so funniness, Wendy's, chicken nuggets aside, I want to talk a little bit about our product and where we've come. So we went from a text-only platform where Barack Obama announced his 4 more years of presidency with a beautiful photo of him and Michelle Obama that was limited to a link, to a media-forward photo, expanded image and timeline, where you can actually experience that moment of Ellen at the Oscars with Bradley, with Lupita, with everyone in that photo. 2, video. Video is how people consume. It's how people see what's happening in the world in motion. So around 2014, we allowed video to be on the platform, and we allowed people to create video. We're also allowing people to do things like download apps from Twitter. And we've also built, knowing that people come to Twitter to find out what's happening now, we created a unit called a moment, which brings together news and happenings from all over the world, and anyone from Donald Trump all the way to Starbucks can tweet what's happening in a swipeable format. We also have interactive formats like something called a scratch reel, which allows you to create a really fun GIF and swipe back and forth, and also live posting video. So we acquired this company called Periscope a couple of years ago that allows us to use the power of live on Twitter and marry that with video to broadcast what's happening in the world. So conversations, another part of Twitter. We know people are tweeting and retweeting, so you can now share content with a click of a button, and a brand or a person can go in and actually create that unit and make it much more shareable. So this is how we've innovated Twitter based on how we know people are using it and the functionality of Twitter as live, public, and conversational. But who here watches TV? Awesome. So Another functionality that we realize people know and love is live sports. So, football. Who's an NFL fan in the room? Awesome. College football, maybe a little bit? Okay. So, those of you who watch Twitter know that those of you who watch football know that the live experience is very important. You want to be tuning in to what's happening in the moment, and you don't want to miss a beat. And what we've realized is that with that, people want to talk about what's happening in real time. People want to share that. They want to see what's going on. And even if they can't tune into that, they can use a platform like Twitter to be a part of the conversation and to be updated on the games. What was the latest play? Who won? How did they do it? What are the players saying and what are the players tweeting about? So Twitter has become a second screen for the NFL, just like it's become a second screen for so many different events and happenings in the world, from the Oscars to sports, to conferences, to cross-campus, to anything that's going on that has a conversation. It's also happening and unfolding on Twitter. So what we've done is we've created products to actually marry the experience and to marry a live broadcast directly with a tweet stream so that the conversation is happening and unfolding as you are watching that. So we've partnered with a multitude of different broadcasters like NFL, Viacom, who does the Oscars, and everyone else who is bringing live content onto Twitter, and we're actually hosting that live content on our platform and making it available for anyone to access and watch and tweet along with. So this is an example from the NFL, but you can see much more content coming down the pipe throughout this year. So to illustrate where Twitter has come and what's happened over the past few years, I actually have Twitter's 10th anniversary video. So we turned 10 as a platform last year, and I can speak to product all day, but it's really about the moments that happen on the platform, and it's about what happens in the world and how to access it and how to be inspired using this platform that we know and love. So here's our video.
I think he said he was going in the Hudson. I'm using Twitter to send pictures from space.
So I think in the best terminology, Twitter is what's happening. So I was actually talking to Claude earlier, who I asked him, what brings you here? What keeps you really inspired as a part of Cross Campus and as a part of this learning process? And I loved what he said, which is, I come here because I feel like this is a community and this is a place where we're all heard and where we can all learn and where we all can experience the same issues and challenges together and be able to overcome them as a community. And I love that, and I really think that speaks to what we do here at Twitter as well. We create a community and we power a platform where people can come and where the world is small and where you know that what's happening for one person can easily be happening for another, and you share these experiences together. So what I do in particular is I actually help power the platform by partnering with brands who spend money to promote their content, whether it's a TV studio looking to launch a new movie, or whether it's, a movie studio looking to launch a new movie, or a TV network looking to promote a new show, or a music platform looking to promote their streaming service. They turn to Twitter because this is a place where they can connect with their audience. And Twitter is a place where they know that they can reach people and where their message will go viral. And so what I do is power that platform with that marketing and with the ad revenue that comes in, and partner with these brands to really keep the platform alive and keep the platform going. So I think that's one important part of it, but the other part is its users. And so thank you all for using the platform and for coming here to learn more about it and the evolution of Twitter. I'm here to help with any questions.
Excellent. Okay, John's going to pass the microphone around, and if you've got a question, raise your hand. He'll give you a microphone. Please, questions only. If you've got a comment or a story, we'll bring out the cane and pull you out. So, looking forward to your questions.
Hi. Perfect, wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
So I have a question from a healthcare perspective.
Yeah.
What's a success story that healthcare providers have used Twitter for to make it work and get their message across?
That's a really good question. I'd love to get back to you with more specific examples. I think one that comes to mind is just being able to, so in healthcare we know that events are really important and that conferences, meetups, and places where you can learn and interact with other professionals are pretty essential to the health of the business. So I've actually seen a lot of healthcare providers and companies alike, Kaiser Pharmaceuticals for one, who've actually used Twitter as a way to create community and to evangelize a meetup or an opportunity to connect with others on the platform, whether it's live and whether it's happening in a room like this, or whether it's a Q&A on the platform where you have healthcare professionals come in and answer questions and really be able to provide information in a way that they wouldn't without people sitting in a room. Does that help?
Yeah.
I'm going to apologize in advance because this is a little bit more harsh than perhaps you
Bring it on.
You seem like somebody who's very able to think on your feet. So the premise is, if President Trump is Twitter's fault, what is Twitter's penance? Hashtag Twitter's penance.
Twitter's penance. I love that question. I'm actually going to throw that back onto you. So, Twitter is a platform, right?
Well, yeah, it's social.
It's a social phenomenon as well. It's a technological phenomenon. And like Facebook, Twitter and Facebook have been accused to some degree of, I don't know how much justice there is in it, of dumbing down the American dialogue and the American populace by making it really easy to get the information that entertains us rather than the information that we need to think about.
Got it. So this is a really interesting question, and I get some variation of it pretty much every day, whether it's at the dinner table or in a room with some clients that I work with, or in a room with a few fine people. One thing that Twitter has prided itself off of since its inception is First Amendment and free speech, and allowing people to communicate fearlessly in an environment that is uncontrolled. Of course, unless there's harm, which we are taking a lot of measures with our product and with our platform to kind of police threats that we deem major, so like national security threats or terrorism or the like. And we also give control back to the users, so you can actually mute specific conversation topics that you don't want to hear about, that you don't want to be engaged in, kind of like Anderson Cooper did with Donald Trump. So one thing that Jack, our founder and our CEO, and that we as a company pride ourselves off of is facilitating that voice in whatever form it comes. And it's not our role to silence anyone, and it's not our role to censor the platform. It is our role to protect our users and to allow our users to protect themselves. But that's all I'll say. Does that answer your question?
Next question over here. So it's a little bit of passing the buck, but it's still addresses you.
Please add it.
I know brevity's part of Twitter, but I think your presentation was far too short.
Oh, thank you. I had 25 minutes, so
right.
we can talk more.
Last week, Clark Benson of Ranker was here, and he said that they realized that Facebook was really the doorway to the internet. Do you see Twitter as somehow independent of that, perhaps bigger in a sense than the web, because it seems like it can be a closed system?
Yeah, that's interesting. Every platform has its own utility value to a user, but in the same way that you might feel Facebook is a doorway to the internet, I feel that Twitter is truly a bridge to the internet and to the people, really. So not just the internet, but connecting people in different formats. You can see a tweet on any digital site that you go to. You can see a tweet on the news, on TV. I'm sure if you look over, there was Bloomberg earlier, and I saw the Bloomberg handle on the bottom of a little Twitter bird. And that's Twitter's role, is really bringing people closer in a public environment. We get a lot of comparisons, like why isn't Twitter doing this like Facebook is, and why isn't Twitter like different platforms? But Facebook is a closed network, and Twitter is a place that's open and that's open-minded, and so that's why I see it more as a bridge.
Over here.
Hi, I have maybe two questions. Without referring to users, without referring to community, without referring to your app, can you tell me what is your product and who's your customer? In other words, in terms of revenue, who's paying you and why are they paying you?
Yeah.
And the evolution of Twitter from a business user's perspective, please. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So who is paying us? We work with partners large and small, anyone from Pepsi down to Bob's, discount grocery store around the corner. And those partners see Twitter as a platform of what's happening. And that is important because, sorry, I'm going to refer to people for 1 minute, but people come to Twitter to discover and to see what's happening in the moment. And so in terms of who is seeing that as a platform for them to take advantage of, it's really everyone across all different categories. It's not just category specific, it's anything from consumer products to healthcare to politics to I work with media and entertainment partners to technology, and those brands are using Twitter as a medium to spread their messages and to reach their audience on Twitter.
You're selling an advertising platform. Are you also selling data mining?
Yes. So I believe about 90% of our revenue comes from ad sales specifically, or ad revenue specifically, and then the other comes from data licensing. So we do see that data, because it's public and because we've been collecting it over our 11 years of life on this planet, that information, and because it's so real time, that data is so valuable. So we can license it to anyone from a business. We also partner with IBM, who uses our data, different government entities, the weather. So it's really, it's very important, and it's, we definitely see the value in it, and it's what's propelling our growth in the long term.
Over here.
All right.
Yeah.
So I think and I'm a Twitter user. Thanks.
What's your name?
Grant Hosford,
Grant.
CEO of a local tech company.
Cool.
And at its best, I think Twitter empowers something like the Arab Spring, right? Mm-hmm. At its worst, it empowers something like Gamergate, an incredibly misogynistic campaign against women in video games. The thing that I'd like you to talk about is, I understand your answer to the previous question about Donald Trump, but personally I feel like Twitter has a responsibility to create more conversations, and that is what's missing from the current, not just political dialogue, but kind of social dialogue in general. And my question is, are you doing anything about that?
Yes, that's a really good question. So, in terms of creating conversations, they're there. They're always happening on the platform. What we do is we try to surface what we feel is most important. We actually have an editorial staff on hand at Twitter who curates things like the Moments tab, which I showed you earlier. And they bring together trending topics and news and buzz and what's happening in the world in that curated format for you to easily access and consume. We also surface things like trending topics, which, as a conversation or as a hashtag starts to build in momentum, we feature it in a trending topics box so that people can click into it and see what people are talking about around that. So I would say it's actually up to us as users, and I say us because I am a user, to actually facilitate those conversations and dialogues ourselves and in communities such as these, and kind of use Twitter as a platform for that activism and really inspire people to be a part of that conversation. So it's our responsibility. Yeah?
So we were just observing you're taking some of this most serious heat we've ever seen on that stage. So
Yes. I've taken worse, believe it or not.
Oh, well, there's some more coming. Just hang on a second.
Yeah.
So first, let me just say, I've used literally since the first day. We've used it in 3 businesses successfully. I wrote a blog post last month about how to use it for customer service that went viral. So it's a very effective tool. I think in the last year we're starting to hit a strategic inflection point around privacy. And just as a cold example, the photo you just took and tweeted out to the universe. You didn't ask anyone for permission, you did it. I could do it too. Maybe we want to be on, maybe we don't want to be on. I'm starting to see some thought leadership come out of Facebook around the seriousness of opening up all these doors and all these windows. I'm not seeing a lot of thought leadership coming out of Twitter on privacy. Talk about what you're doing in privacy and what we can count on you to do in privacy as this platform continues to expand.
Yeah, I actually would ask you to elaborate on that a little bit further. So when you speak to other measures of privacy that you've seen and how they've, other platforms have addressed it, can you be a little bit more specific in what you're referring to?
Well, I asked a question of you, and I see that Facebook is starting to talk about how to protect your privacy. They've certainly given you enough controls, which you'd have to be a brain surgeon to be able to use anyway. But the fact is, we all do have privacy. I'm a generation older than you, so I probably think about it a little differently than you do. But I don't want my image tweeted if I don't want my image tweeted. I don't want my information shared if I don't want it shared. How do we move into a world where people who don't want to be part of the conversation can extract themselves from the conversation?
Sure, I love that question. Okay, thanks for clarifying, first of all. So I can address this on a micro and a macro level. I think on a micro level, such as the selfie you mentioned, we do allow certain, we have a support platform where you can actually report instances of trademark infringement or impersonation, or let's say you are featured in an image or a photo and you see that it's you and it's somehow inflicting on your identity in some way and it's infringing on your privacy. There are ways to report that on a micro level, and our team takes those cases very seriously. We've actually doubled our support staff to actually address those issues in greater depth and at a higher frequency. So that's the micro level. I think, at a macro level, we do allow users to remain anonymous on the platform. So one of the great things about Twitter is you don't have to verify your identity. You can create a handle and a pseudonym, and you can kind of live in the shadows of that conversation, and there's no pressure to assert your identity. Of course, if you want to have a voice and if you want to speak from yourself, we do encourage that you use your real name and that you be a presence and a person on the platform. but there are ways to kind of keep yourself guarded. We also have protected account measures, so you can actually make your account private so that what you tweet about and who you follow and other information on the platform that you could otherwise be giving away is actually gated. So we're putting the hands back into the users, but something like a photo or an image or something where you really feel that you're featured and you shouldn't be, then we will take those cases very seriously.
In retrospect.
Go ahead.
Are you? I can delete it. Do you want me to feature?
No.
Okay.
The next question's over here.
Hi. The social revolution stuff is lovely, but let's talk about the Benjamins.
Yeah.
Mark Cuban's buying you guys up because he thinks you got your AI act together. And secondly, do you think it's going to take a buyout for you guys to really take advantage of what it is you're doing? Because it seems like the stock continues to be chancy in that respect. I mean, does a Disney or Google buyout, and what does that do to what you're offering? As much as you're allowed to comment as you're not to.
Oh no, I love it. I'll comment all day. Just don't tweet about it. No, I'm kidding. So we had buyout rumors. We've been through that. I've been with the company for 5 years now. We've been through ups and downs. I went public with Twitter in 2013, and our stock went up like crazy. And then, we started to realize that we needed to restructure the company in new ways and really pivot and focus our energy and our efforts on the products and the processes that mattered most to us as a platform, and hone in on what our core competency was as a platform. That meant making a lot of hard decisions, trimming the fat, and going through a real restructuring that allowed us to position ourselves for profitability over time. A lot of that came in the form of layoffs, unfortunately, and just other restructuring measures that were very difficult to do, but that we've actually seen results coming from. So if you look back at Twitter's earnings over the past few months, you'll see that there actually has been considerable user growth, and revenue growth is actually catching up to that. So we've actually accelerated in that user growth quarter over quarter for the past year, in a way that we haven't before that, in a way that we haven't since actually pre-IPO. So I do think that that's a true testament to the products and the innovation that you saw here today, and also the work that my team is doing to propel the platform and to keep it fueled, really with revenue and with partnerships that matter most and keep people really engaged. So I think that's the long answer. The short answer is we are seeing growth over time, and I won't speak to the stock price, but if you look at it, you can kind of see the impact of it, especially over the past few quarters, and you will see the impact of it moving forward.
What about AI?
AI. Yeah, it's an area that we're exploring in great depth right now. I think, right now it's definitely, we're in more of an exploratory phase, and we definitely have resources dedicated towards that. I can't speak for the prioritization of AI among other products at Twitter, but I do know that as it is an industry trend and as it is being adopted by other platforms that we're seeing, it's definitely an area that we're exploring. Sure. Do you want your, sorry?
For the Trump question.
Oh yeah. Sorry?
There's room in pen for the Trump question.
Oh yeah, I owe you a pen. There you go.
Okay, another Trump questions. I'm sorry. And during the election, everyone said that Twitter has been the propaganda department for the Donald Trump, and then many reports said about this. When he used different cell phones, Android versus iPhone, have completely different personalities. So, so there's many speculation that Trump is not writing all these tweets, probably someone else doing this. That's my questions. Number one is, it's almost like a privacy thing, but can Twitter ever consider to verify is this account or tweet is actually made by that person or someone else with another motivations? Because also on the same time, there's so many phony, funky Trump accounts, so-called accounts. So it can be from him. So that will making a different type of like a legal or ethical or political or liability dilemma. So I was wondering how you respond.
Okay, interesting question. So I'm actually going to pull this slide up for a minute again. See this little blue guy right here? That's called a verification badge. So what we've done is our politics team and our media team has actually worked with Trump's team to identify that this account is his official Twitter account. And it is representative of Trump's conversation. Now, I don't personally know, and I'm not speaking on behalf of the company as to whether he is actually sitting behind a phone tweeting. I can almost assume that he is based on what he says. However, it's our job as a company to verify this account as being the official voice of our president. So in terms of the fake accounts and like fake Trump and all of that, those accounts we allow parody on the platform as long as they say that they are parody accounts. Do we all like them? I don't know. Some people do, some people don't. It's not our job to police them unless they do become threatening. But what I can say is that whether he's behind this or someone else, I have no idea. But this is his verified Twitter handle, so this is Donald Trump's voice, and consider that such. And this is the only platform, by the way, where it is Donald Trump, and he is verified, and it is coming directly from him, instantaneously at that. So, does that answer your question? Oh, okay.
Well, maybe we should go on to the next one, and
We'll talk after.
Two more questions.
Yeah.
I want to be the second one to say that you're just doing an awesome job, and I've not seen anyone take heat on that stage like you are. You're very gracious and patient and thoughtful. So mine isn't a hardball question, but it's probably a weird question. I think that the world would be okay if we didn't have a way to order a book online and have it delivered to our house. Would be okay. I think if we didn't have a way to share photos with everybody, we would be okay. To ask kind of the opposite question of what Gilman earlier did of let's talk about forget about the social activism, let's talk about the Benjamins.
Yeah.
I'm saying, I think that Twitter, the platform that it represents for social change and for protest and organizing, is essential. Like, the world would be a worse place without Twitter. So my question is there a place for something that is not marketable or revenue producing, that's almost like a utility for the planet? And how does that work if something, specifically Twitter, if it can't work out from a profit standpoint, that it still is allowed to continue, because I think it's essential.
That's a great point. So I love that question because it really allows me to go through the story again. Twitter was that platform for a long time. So its inception was in 2006. Micro messages, text brought to life, community. It wasn't until 2010 that we realized that the rate that people are using this platform and the utility that it's providing them is so valuable. And all of the innovation that you saw, the videos, the photos, the accommodating live video, live streaming, those are all essential innovations on Twitter to bring what's happening in the world to people. That all takes sufficient engineering work and labor and real love to put together. And in order to do that, we need to onboard and we need to retain talent that can actually keep this thing alive. And so I think that to your question about monetization and why do we do that and why do we have to do that, that's powering this platform, and that's powering the speed at which you can see a tweet from Donald Trump, and that's powering the videos that you see of what's happening in the world, and when there's an attack and a bombing, or when there's a sporting event, or when there's a holiday or something else happening in the world, you wouldn't be able to see that, and you wouldn't be able to bear witness to that if we didn't have the manpower to bring that to life. And so that's what keeps me going, and that's what keeps me getting out of bed every day. It's not about what movie, don't tell my clients this, but it's not about what movie we're promoting and how much money I'm getting out of that, but it's really about how can we continue to power this platform and drive this thing forward in a way that's continuing to change the world and bring it closer together. So thank you for that question.
Last question, Fred.
Sure.
I'd love to go on a little philosophical bent that we did, but practical. The data stream available.
Yeah.
I think that on Google I can go in and I can access the data. There's a lot of stats and things that I can do to search. Are there tools for the entrepreneur to be able to go in and sample the data stream that is, I'm sure, is an exorbitant fee? If you're selling to Watson, there's a big chunk of change going across the board. But I just asking out of total ignorance, how do I, as an entrepreneur, access the data stream so I can get a sense on, do I want to buy it?
I love that. Yeah, so the data stream, I think when we talk about the data stream, like we can talk about that, like I think what you're referring to is like a direct pipeline to tweets, like to tweet data.
If I were to do a psychological profile of our grand president and I just want to hone in on him and process that, how would I go about doing that?
It's really interesting. So I think there's two ways. There's Twitter Direct. So you mentioned data licensing partnerships directly with Twitter. We acquired a company called GNIP a couple of years ago, and GNIP actually licenses that data and synthesizes it and makes it available to business owners. The packages range, the pricing ranges depending on the level of data that you're tapping into. So it could be 10% of the fire hose, it could be 100%, which obviously comes at a cost to be able to access that so that we can facilitate that. There are also a lot of third parties that we work with, so third party companies that actually synthesize that data and have those partnerships directly so that through a subscription model, you can tap into them, you can tap into their capabilities. So they can actually synthesize that data for you, and so that they can tell you as a business owner, if it's important for you to know about Trump and reach his following or not reach them or whatever you might want to do, you can do that directly through them. And they have, a lot of these third parties have managed services and almost account managers who can help guide you through that process. I'm more than happy to refer you to any that might.
But is there anything like Google has where I can just go in and start to walk around in some data?
Yeah, so
for free.
So you can go on to ads.twitter.com and you don't necessarily have to like spend an exorbitant amount of money, but as a business owner, there are tools that we make available to small and large businesses alike, and analytical tools more specifically that help you see into the conversation that's happening on Twitter, conversation volume, who is your following, how can you reach your audience, and of course that data can help inform an advertising or marketing strategy, but it can also be of use in other ways too. So
just real little yes or no. Is there a free way that somebody can go in and just walk around and figure things out? Like on Google, we can access a lot of data just to get ideas. I'm just saying, is there anywhere that we can go and get some sense of what's available on the Twitter data?
Yeah. I'd have to think about that a little bit more. Can we talk after?
Oh, absolutely. Okay, I'm just curious. I'm not challenging. I'm curious. I want to know.
No, I think it's a great question. Yeah. So.
Alexa, I have one last question.
Sure.
So what are some of the cool things that some of the studios and other brands are doing right now? A lot of the questions are either very philosophical or they're advertising related.
Sure.
And on the marketing, branding, advertising, what are some of the cool things that companies and brands are doing with Twitter right now?
Yeah, so I actually have an example. If you bear with me for a minute, I can pull it up. But I think the short answer to that question is they're doing a lot, right? So they are, actually, you know what? I have someone in the audience who can speak to that a little bit better than me. Dylan, stand up. So Dylan is one of, I partnered with Dylan on a ton of different film releases, and he is an industry expert, and he is a Twitter expert, and he's run a ton of different ad campaigns, and also just social campaigns in general, so not necessarily paid, but also other forms of marketing. So Dylan can actually speak to some of the work that we've done together. Dylan, take it away.
That's a really good question. Everything, anything that you can dream of, the whole internet, all social media, all the questions that you guys have asked today, really boils down to content, and content is no different from me and you than it is to the studios and the producers. So they have a movie coming out, they need to spend the money, they've got the marketing money. Any movie that comes out with like a $5 million budget typically has about a $5 million marketing budget as well that goes into various social channels. The scratch reels that you saw on there, the conversational videos that you saw on there, brands like we'll run a movie trailer and we'll say, does this person die at the end? Tweet yes, tweet no, and that gets the engagement up. So it's really everything that you've seen here today, and then some, because of the money involved, really, honestly.
Okay, so I'm going to show you a few examples, some of my favorite examples of some stuff that we've done with brands specifically, not necessarily for some of these videos. This one's really fun. Who likes pizza? Does anyone like pizza? I love pizza. Okay. Let's get this up. Yeah. Oh, we're loading. Pizza's loading. Here we go. Okay. Where's my mouse? Pizza. There we go. Okay. So this is a campaign that we ran with Domino's. So Domino's, Domino's ran a campaign. Basically, they realized the power of the emoji, and the emoji has somewhat become this language where people are communicating across barriers, and the pizza emoji is very symbolic for Domino's. So what they did was they took that to a new level, and they partnered with a company called Fuji to actually allow people to tweet a pizza emoji at Domino's to get a pizza delivered to their door. So this is the coolest thing about it. Like, this is one of my favorite types of campaigns, like where we're really bringing that experience back to the user and we're fulfilling a need that they really want. So something as simple as just tweeting a pizza emoji to get a pizza delivery, as you can imagine, there's a lot of skepticism around something like this, but they followed through and they actually delivered on that. So that's one of the cool things that we've partnered on. And that's just one example of innovation. I think another one that's really cool is this Restart a Heart campaign by the British Heart Foundation. So what they did was they realized they need to raise awareness of heart disease and heart failure. So they allowed people to actually like a tweet, and it's almost like a lottery system where you enter and you're either lucky or you're unlucky. And 9 out of 10 people who liked this tweet actually suffered virtually from cardiac arrest. So again, this is something that, it was an auto response campaign, so like to receive an auto response, did you survive? But the reality is they use this because they know that people like to engage. They know that people want a favorite, and they want to basically engage with this content in a way that informs them, and so they use that as a way to spread a message about heart disease. Another really cool one that we've done recently, so I talked about Periscope earlier. Periscope, what we did with Kevin Hart is we actually created custom, basically when you watch a Periscope live broadcast, you can actually or you can favorite, or you can basically make this heart stream come up within that live broadcast. So as you're watching it, you can, similar to what you do on Facebook and other platforms, you'd actually like it. We actually turned those hearts into his heads. So this was actually done in partnership with Universal for the Kevin Hart movie that came out last year. But again, it's a fun way that we partnered with them to really bring Kevin Hart directly into this Periscope experience. So those are just a few brand examples. I hope that helps answer your
That was fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alexa. Thank you for coming out. We're going to see a picture of you with our beautiful audience here.
Does anyone mind? If you don't mind, you can go out of the picture. Okay.
So come down here, and you really do win the award for the hardest questions we've ever had, and you did it very gracefully and wonderfully.
Thanks for your questions. I love that.
Okay, let's get some photo bombing in here. We're a lot more fun than those questions. Let her believe. All right, you ready? Your marks. All right, getting close. Your marks. Get set. Go. Perfect. Thank you. One more because my hand's shaking. That's blurry. All right. 1, 2, 3. Photo bomb. Perfect. Thank you. All right, everybody. Do we have any announcements today? No. Thank you. Everybody, have a great Memorial Weekend. We'll see you next week.
Wait, before you leave. I'm gonna actually live broadcast really quickly. I want everyone on Twitter to be a part of what's happening here in Pasadena. So really quick, I'm gonna send a live broadcast.
What's your at Alexa?
Oh, at Lexa. It's just at symbol Lexa. So I'll let you guys all go into that for a minute. You can see the live broadcast, but all I want you to do is just cheer really loud for like 5 seconds, and then it'll be over. Okay. Accessing. Okay. Ready? I'm about to go live. 3, 2,